You guys really don't know when it's good or bad when it comes right down to it. You really don't know because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will.
To come home because I have a very special love.
The media public doesn't know. You guys don't know. Sometimes it won't. I can tell you it won't be good, and you'll see it won't be good. Sometimes you'll think it's good, and it isn't any good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was pretty darn good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was bad. But basically, you really don't know.
Back for the season opening edition of the Beta Boys Weekly podcast, I have our usual guests here, the Optomistic Optometrist, and tarps off for the boys, Schmity. Going with wine tonight there, I see. Okay. I kind of have some sour grapes myself over here after the loss, but what were your guys' initial takeaways, and how are you coping with it after the tough defeat there for the Packers in Week 1? Dad, I'll start off with you.
Well, I just wondered if that's a purple wine over there, Schmity, by chance.
It's a very dark purple. It does have a hue similar to the place over US Bank Stadium.
I don't think there's a lot of whining coming out of there this week. I think that it's probably jubilation in every corner after that tilt we watched this weekend.
I wouldn't say jubilation, right? I mean, obviously, we would love to start off the season 1-0. However, I was less than hopeful that we were going to come out of there with a win this week, and it kind of unfolded not necessarily as I had planned. Right, my prediction was 27-20, but you'd always love to see more than 7 points be scored. But we had 3 last year, so maybe we're on the rise.
Yeah, what was the worst Week 1 performance? I think this one stung a little bit, just given the fact it was against our cross-border rivals there. But what was more dissatisfying, last year or this year?
Surely last year. I mean, I would just much rather play a division opponent like middle through the season. Like, this is just a tough place to play. Like, we're definitely up against it, but you'd much rather see them take on this team when we're in form, because we clearly weren't this week.
Okay, I'm going to let the rant begin now. We need a little rant session here.
You held it in for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's very, very composed there for quite a moment. What's the greater disappointment that you're playing a team with a brand new coach, a brand new system? You're playing Ed Donatel, who couldn't coordinate his way out of a wet paper bag in Green Bay and had to be let go 20-some years ago. You've got 6 months to figure out how to keep Jefferson from running wild in our secondary. You got 5 DBs who think they're ready to be enshrined on the Mount Rushmore of defense. You got our defensive coordinator and our quarterback saying that Rashawn Gary is wrecking every practice off the edge. And the defense doesn't show up. Offense doesn't show up. You have absolutely no game plan. If anybody schemed anything, it was the Vikings' first-year head coach who schemed, Jefferson open all over the field against our defense, which was what I thought LaFleur was going to do for us. So it's disappointing on every level, except I'll give you the silver lining. The special teams were inconspicuous, which is the best thing I can say about them in the last several games.
That's a significant improvement over what we saw to end the year last year.
Exactly. So that, I guess, is the silver lining. But that's the start of the rant. I can go on, but somebody else needs to pick it up for a minute.
Well, let's get the Viking fans' reaction here. My wonderful wife, who has one major character flaw, and that's this NFL team that she roots for, had a little bit of a reaction and a question for us. So let's hear her thoughts.
Hi, all you Packer fans. You guys know who I am. To celebrate the win and to honor you guys, I wore my Brett Favre Viking jersey, though. I know that Griff doesn't like to admit that he played with the Vikings, but he did. I just wanted to start off by saying, it was a good game. It was fun to watch, in my case, watch, like the Vikings beat you guys again. But I just had a question for you Packer fans here. So when people talk about Aaron Rodgers, they always say, oh, he's the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and this is gonna be his year, and he's got the new do, and he's got his psychedelics, and he has his new tattoo that people don't know what it is, but good for him. But my question is, I get that his one wide receiver, the lizard guy, whatever, he was out, but why can't he throw to anyone else or do anything or make any plays? I mean, we have Kirk Cousins, who's known as, the dweeby guy, and we have Adam Thielen, who's D2 with Mankato State. So it's if Aaron Rodgers is just so much better than Kirk Cousins, why doesn't Aaron Rodgers do anything, to help those around him get better? So that's just what I'm kind of wondering, and I'm curious to know your guys' opinions.
There's going to take some time to correct this. I think some of the naysayers will say, well, why didn't Rodgers come and do the off-season program with the young guys, right? There was some throws that might have happened early on that might have created or given us a better opportunity to be successful to start the year. That didn't happen. I just think it's some growing pains. Rodgers has made a bunch of money for wide receivers from the Green Bay Packers. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Watson, right? Let's talk about it. The first play of the game. What a beautiful ball. The guy put it right in his hands on stride. Would have been a touchdown. All he had to do was literally close his palms together, and we would have been fine. So I think it's just time for the offense to come together. Dobbs looked fine. There was plenty of plays that he ran fantastic routes. They used Watson expertly on that end around. The guys just need to play more with each other, and I think that'll come. Again, it's just it's playing your division rival. Everything is a little more elevated. Everyone gets a little more excited about what they're seeing out on the field. But I think we can all relax. As our good friend 12 has once told us before, we just need to chill out and let these things happen. He'll surely take care of us as he usually does.
Okay, I'm not done ranting yet. Schmity is way too much the voice of reason here, so let's liven this thing up a little bit. In the last 8 quarters, Aaron Rodgers has led us to exactly 1 touchdown per game. If I remember right, the world was ending last year when Jordyn Love went into Kansas City and led us to only 1 touchdown in a hostile environment and kept us in the game right to the very end. I see Aaron Rodgers sitting on the sideline, sulking, complaining to the offensive coordinator, not up encouraging anybody. And furthermore, Randall Cobb. We just can't live Randall Cobb. We need 10 Randall Cobbs out there, Aaron says. What has Randall Cobb done in the last 2 games? Did he have 2 receptions for about 22 yards in this game? If Randall Cobb is such a stud who's in the right place all the time, where is the performance? So I'm on a full-on rant here. I really thought after the performance last year, the abysmal performance in San Francisco, that this outfit would have their heads screwed on straight. The Rodgers would understand. What do you do when things aren't going well? You don't dance around in the pocket, try to buy time, try to look for an open reason. You hit the man in stride who's open like Tom Brady. You dink, you dunk, you get first downs, you take 4 yards on first down, make it 2nd and 6. Let me just say the score is 20-17 at the end of the third, 20-7 at the end of the third quarter. We're driving at midfield. It's 3rd and 6. Aaron Rodgers goes back, starts dancing around in the pocket instead of getting rid of the ball. Now you face the idea of 4th and 6 at midfield, end of the third quarter. Maybe you go for it there, maybe you don't. He takes a 10-yard sack, and the game is effectively over. So I'm going to be in overreaction mode for a little bit here. And then in about 5 minutes, we'll talk about the positives. But I just really am fed up with some of the attitude I see over there, and hopefully it gets turned around in a hurry. But this was a abject failure on so many levels of coaching, of performing, of leadership by Rodgers. And I sure hope we see it turn around in a hurry because it was thoroughly disgusting.
There were two pretty pivotal plays earlier in the game, as I saw it as well. One obviously being the Watson drop that Schmity alluded to that could have changed the complexion. Additionally, two other plays actually. A fourth down on the Vikings' first possession, they decided to go for it. They capitalized, they score.
Let's stop right there. What did they run on that play? Did they run a play that looked like it had any chance of failing?
I think they ran this
Eric
play
Stokes was not in the same zip code. I'm talking about the
It's
fourth.
going to come up here. Yeah, where he runs across the line of scrimmage, and here we go.
Who's Stokes supposed to cover here? What is he thinking? He's nowhere to be found. That's pitiful. Give me a break. You can't lose track of 18. That play had no chance of failing with a defense like that. And we call a fourth down on the 1 yard. By the way, on that play, the prior play, he got to the half-yard line. It wasn't the 1. And they did not review the play.
You're talking about on our fourth down subsequently.
On our fourth down now. Dylan was on top of a body. He rolled down to the half-yard line, should have taken the challenge, put it on the half-yard line, and punched it in. And so, again, on so many levels, we got outplayed, out-schemed, outperformed, and it's a head-scratcher. Hard to understand how that can happen against your arch-rival. First game of the year, 6 months to think about it and prepare for it. So it's a hard one to digest.
Schmity, what was your reaction to Zadarius Smith's performance? He got to the quarterback a couple times. He was crawling around on the ground. A lot of antics. Seemed like he's it was a big game for him. He was very motivated. I don't know what sort of wrongdoing he feels that the Packers placed towards him, but it seemed like he really had a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, he definitely did. I mean, he was quite impactful, and that was I get one of my beefs for the game, and something I could rant about would be our offensive line's performance. I mean, they made it easy on Zadarius to have a great game, and so I was most upset, especially when you consider that we didn't have Elton or Bach much of last year, and we seemed to not put much energy into complaining about what our offensive line was doing last season, and it surely showed up in week 1. And so that was probably the most concerning thing for me. But getting back to Darius Smith, I think it's it's just a good storyline, right? Like it's for us, especially for a guy that we saw those antics 2 and 3 years ago, right? And we absolutely loved it because he was fantastic for us. And he played a great game, and hats off to him. It was fantastic to see Rodgers try to body him on that end around to Watson, I believe. That was fun. So excited to hear his reaction to that on Pat McAfee show tomorrow, because hopefully he'll tell us what they were jaw-jacking about.
So Schmity, I've castigated the head coach, the defensive coordinator, the starting quarterback. Well, I may as well throw the GM in here while we're at it. Did the GM keep the wrong Smith?
Possibly, but I think there's nothing that we're going to find out in the media that we already don't know. I think there was some animosity between Zadarius Smith and the Packers. They didn't extend Zadarius, but he was injured the whole time. So
we'll find out later in the year if we kept the right Smith. I don't know. I just posed the question because it sure didn't look like we kept the right one the other day, but it's a long season ahead of us, so we'll see what happens. But Preston Smith was pretty inconspicuous in that game, and Zadarius was all over the field, causing turnovers and sacks and being an inspirational leader to his team, which I didn't see any inspiration on our team side.
He's certainly a fiery, rah-rah guy. I think, guys rally around that to some degree. To switch veins just a little bit here, Aaron Jones, 5 carries, was pretty effective with those 5 carries. Obviously, some of that is game script related. Some of it is, trying to get A.J. Dillon the ball more, and A.J. Dillon was certainly effective too. But what did you think about the usage for Aaron Jones, Dad?
Well, now I'm going to go on a rant again. Because what offense is being run out there? Is it Matt LaFleur's offense, or is it Aaron Rodgers coming to the line of scrimmage and changing all the runs to RPOs, to pass options, and then we get into all the funny signals and touching your nose and putting your hand in your ear and looking at somebody and winking at them and being passive aggressive when they don't get it right, and now they're supposed to figure all that out instead of just run the offense and get it to the guy, make the simple play right in front of you. Don't expect rookie receivers to pick up all your little hand signals. And it really makes me wonder, what the real Matt LaFleur offense is. Clearly, the coach cannot say that Aaron Rodgers is changing all the plays and that he shouldn't be. So he's got to walk a tightrope there. Hopefully in a week or two we'll say, yeah, everything's ironed out and everything's fine, but it sure causes a lot of questions now about what's going on. I can't believe Matt LaFleur went into the game thinking that Aaron Jones was going to touch the ball. What was it, 8 to 10 times?
He had 8 touches. He had 2 more targets that he didn't, they didn't connect on.
Yeah. He needs to touch the ball 15 to 20 times at a minimum. And, Jones and Dillon are clearly going to be the strengths of the team right now. And so that I have to believe that Rodgers changed a lot of plays where they were supposed to get the ball.
Does it seem that there's any sort of confrontation in those sorts of situations between LaFleur and Rodgers? We obviously got to a point with McCarthy where it did not seem like the quarterback and McCarthy were on the same page at all. And it seems like, I don't know, when it's all going well, it's not something that we're really going to criticize. But when you have games like we did against the 49ers in the playoffs, 7 points, and the one like we did today, or on Sunday here, 7 points, and then you see Aaron Rodgers appearing to change the play calls a lot. Some of that is obviously within his capabilities, and he's been very successful for a large number of years. But to your point, is he diverging from what LaFleur wants to be doing, you think?
I would just say that, yeah, I think that's happening. And clearly LaFleur is going to take the high road. He's no dummy. He can't get into a war of words with his starting quarterback in the media. He's smart enough, and clearly one of his strengths as a coach is to keep that stuff internal and to take a lot of blame onto himself, which Rodgers seems to have a hard time doing. And so, yeah, I would guess that some of that's going on. We don't know for sure, but I'm very confident that Matt LaFleur is not going to let that get out. He's going to keep that all internal, and whatever he has to say, he'll say to Aaron Rodgers in a closed-door meeting.
He's not prone to, like we saw with Mike Zimmer, going out there and throwing his own players under the bus, which, yeah, that's a positive for sure. Good.
Yeah, so Rodgers in the presser last night when they asked him just about offense efficiency, one of the first things he went to was how many touches that the running backs got. So I'm not sure if that is a LaFleur decision to go away from the run game. You would think Rodgers has enough. He gets to make the decision when the ball snapped, right? So I'm sure he could check to some runs. So I'm not going to say it's one or the other's fault. I think there's definitely it was definitely a collective effort yesterday by those two not to get the running game going.
A collective shortcoming. Well, going back to the playoffs, not last year, but the year prior when we had the 4th down situation against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it is tough for me to get over the fact that Aaron pretty passively was willing to go off the field on 4th down there. Whereas I've kind of brought up the point privately with you, Dad, that if it was Tom Brady and the roles were reversed, they would have had to have dragged him off the field. He just wouldn't have come off the field in a 4th down 8 points in that sort of a situation. So the whole nature of him allowing that to happen, but then, kind of passive aggressively changing the offense and so forth, I don't want to be too critical of the guy, but it seems to coincide with just the nature of the way he's been in the last few years. It's a little bit strange, and we kind of look the other way when the W's are stacking up. But to see us lay an egg again against the Vikings kind of makes you question where his headspace is at.
Well, yeah, I'm going to stop the rant very quickly here, and we're going to turn around and look at the positives, but maybe I'll end it here. What is it that motivates Aaron Rodgers? He, for the last couple years, was playing to prove the management wrong. He was playing to determine where his future would end and to get things from a management's perspective with the Packers or wherever he might end up. So he had the high road as far as power structure is concerned. And he played very well in that role. Is he going to play now to win a Super Bowl? Because I mean, I would like to see it. It seems like his motivation before was to just get the upper hand in terms of the power structure. What has happened in the biggest games in the last couple years where I really thought that he would be a difference maker? He has not been a difference maker. He was not a difference maker Sunday. He was not a difference maker against the 49ers. He was not a difference maker against Tampa Bay. And that's what he's being paid to do. And, you know, all of the contract and accolades and everything else come with a certain expectation. And I'm sure he knows that. And I would anticipate that we'll see him turn it around pretty quickly here. But, you know, it's a worthwhile question to ponder. What's his motivation this year? He hasn't got any chips on his shoulder anymore. He's all taken care of with his contract. So let's see what really motivates the guy. It'll be interesting. And is he coming down to a point in his career where he isn't as motivated as he once was? I don't know. The time will tell, and we'll answer the question as we move forward.
Yeah, he seems to like talking about, you know, an unconditional self-love a lot. You hear him use that phraseology. And it's, to me, I think there should be some conditions attached. You know, you love yourself as much as you want. If you go get us another Super Bowl would be my first stipulation. To switch over to a point that you made last week, Dad, we talked a little bit about a former Packer, Devonte Adams. And your kind of thinking was it might be a cautionary tale for him. See what happens with, or what happened with Greg Jennings, and after he left town, how that worked out for him. We had a Javon Walker once upon a time leave town. Things didn't work out so merrily for him, and that you know, he might rue the day that he decided to leave Aaron Rodgers. How do you think Devonte felt? They obviously didn't get the win against the Chargers yesterday, but was he missing 12 in Green Bay, you think, there yesterday, Schmity?
Surely he was. I mean, think about how many opportunities Devonte would have afforded Rodgers to bail him out in the passing game yesterday, especially with how many times we threw the ball.
Well, I think we missed Devonte. I think we missed Devonte. Did Devonte miss us? Is what I'm curious about.
I don't think so. Derek Carr is a very serviceable quarterback. The guy has arm talent and get him the ball. Like, if Devonte was going there, I mean, there's definitely places to go where the quarterback is shaky at best, and you don't know if you're going to see production. Derek Carr is not one of those guys. So Devonte knew exactly what he was getting himself when he went to the black and silver. So I don't think he misses us. Sad to say, but we gotta find some guys that can contribute with him gone.
How is 13's production gonna factor up and stack up against Devontae's when we get him back?
Did you see some of the moves Devonte put on yesterday? Do you think Allen Lazard has any of that in his tank? I'm not so sure. I think Allen provides Rodgers with a safety net, right? There's some intuition there, he knows the offense, so he has a leg up on everyone else in the receiver room, maybe besides Randall. But as far as production goes, he's not going to even come close to what Devonte would provide.
Yeah, what's the word with his injury there? Was it, he came down to a little bit of a game time decision. Are they feeling pretty optimistic about his chances in week 2 here?
I think of the 3 guys that we missed week 1, he's the guy that we can bank on to come back Sunday night. I would expect us not to see Bach or Elton Jenkins next week as well. And not saying that we won't need them, but I think our line that we have right now will be serviceable enough to fend off the Bears pass rush.
Dad, I'll let you turn the corner towards something hopefully a little bit more positive. How do you think we come out and respond Sunday night?
Definitely ready to turn the corner. The positive is here we're missing 2 all-pro linemen. We're missing our nominal number 1 receiver, at least who has been assumed to take that role. I expect all 3 to be back Sunday. On natural turf and Lambeau, a division foe. This is a huge game. Those guys were not put, if they were going to be held out for 4 weeks, they would have left them on the pup. And I will be, Schmity was right last week, so he might be right again this week, but I'm expecting all 3 to play against the Bears in a huge North Division matchup that's pretty much a must-win game at this early point in the season. Now, to spin this thing positive, you get those 3 guys back. Take a look at the schedule. Schedule looks even better now. I mean, you got Chicago at Tampa Bay, maybe a loss there. New England, who doesn't look like much. The Giants, the Jets, Washington, and before you get to Buffalo, then you're at Detroit and Dallas. Dallas without Dak Prescott. So you've got a very favorable schedule there that if there's any way to get whole again, that should provide every opportunity to do so. But you cannot drop a game to the Bears, and I am not so sure they're wired heavy enough they have to run the football with this outfit early in the season to get the kind of play action passing and so forth that they want. And the Bears played a tough game against the Niners. They have a good defense, and so I would expect all 3 of those guys to play.
Schmity, do you think we get it done against the Bears? And is it you said in week 1 this team was doomsday proof, or prior to week 1. If we had a slip up against the Bears, how close would that be to a doomsday after the performance we just had this week?
The clock is getting close to midnight if we lose to the Bears on Sunday night. There's no question. That it's just not a game you can lose. The Packers right now are favored by 10. I think that's with the uncertainty of our offensive line. So if we do get news that Bach and Elton are back, I think that does improve our chances. Maybe it moves the line a couple of points. But I don't think it's a game we lose, even come close to. I think if we provide predictions, 31-17 Packers on Sunday night, and everything will right the ship. As you pointed out, the schedule, Gars, is favorable for the Packers coming up the next 2 months, and I think that will ease a lot of unsettledness that we have right now amongst ourselves and even in the locker room.
What's your prediction for the game, Dad? Schmity's looking to move to 2-0 as the Packers hopefully move to 1-1.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to predict a Packer victory. I haven't thought a lot about the score, but what does Schmity say? 31-17?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't know if that outfit that we watched Sunday could score 31 points against the Wisconsin Badgers.
Against air, even.
Yeah. Reminds me of the story of back in the old days when the Bears played at Soldiers Field, and the Bears were playing the Vikings, and big Union town there in Chicago, and the noon whistle went off, and so the Bears ran off the field for their lunch break, and 3 plays later the Vikings scored. A little bit like
that
the
seemed
Packers
like us,
here.
yeah.
That probably could be better told as the Packers this time, but I'll go. I'm gonna go 20-13 Packers.
Get it done.
Bears.
20 points. We almost triple our average point total over the last 2 games, counting the postseason. That would be some positive improvement there.
Now we had some other injuries, that mainly on the defense, didn't we? We had Barnes went out with what looked like a broken lower leg.
Yeah.
potentially, and the special teams ace, Nixon had a
Nixon.
shoulder.
Quay Walker.
Walker went out with a shoulder. Questionable whether he'll be back, so I guess we'll have to see on those as the week unfolds.
Chris
Yeah.
Barnes was not. They came out. Chris Barnes is not going to be season ending. So that was great news today. Quay Walker, I think he's going to be close to a game time decision.
Okay. Did what we saw?
I'm going to jump in here, Griff, real quick, because we're winding toward the end right here, and I got to ask, as a college wide receiver who played 5 years of college ball for 2 different colleges, I know you don't want to make a big deal of it, scored touchdowns for both schools, and has run a number of go routes with the big ballooning ball coming out of outer space down into your hands. Thousands of repetitions at that pattern and watching that ball come in there from that angle. What's your take on a rookie dropping a ball in the breadbasket like that when simply all you have to do is put the pinkies together, right? You put the pinkies together so the ball doesn't go between your hands. How do you reconcile that with what you watched on the TV without being too harsh?
Well, I do have to say that I had a similar experience myself today. Had my lovely wife toss me about a 15-yard ball, getting by my dog Lambo, give him a little inside move, beat him to the outside, and had a couple steps on him, and I pretty much did the exact same thing that Christian Watson did out in the front yard here. So I'm a little bit less in practice and less in shape than he has. Haven't practiced that over-the-shoulder catch in a little while, but I don't think I can be too critical of anyone. I might be most critical of the fact that we didn't go back to it. I mean, he absolutely blew by Patrick Peterson. And to not give that guy another deep shot, another opportunity, given the stagnation that we saw with the offense, is insane to me. Give that guy a shot to get behind the defense, give him another chance, go back to him, instill some confidence in the young guy. And that seems like how we should have handled that situation, in my opinion.
I couldn't believe that they didn't do a complimentary route where he maybe stagger stepped and then went to the go and then cut it off on a 20-yard deep out, where you should have had Peterson just bailing out on the deep play and try to play off of that, getting beat like that, and see if the DB can react. It was quizzical that they didn't come back to that, and I don't know if it's symptomatic and emblematic of Rodgers not trusting, but boy, oh boy, that would be a great time to come right back to the kid and boost his confidence and get a play going to get the offense on track. It was very hard to figure.
I think we get back on track, but it has been interesting to see in this regime. We've had a propensity to go out there and just lay eggs a number of times. It hasn't been super frequently, but the times it's happened, it's been painful. You think about the Saints game last year. You think about this one, week 1. You think about the Niners game in the playoffs. You think about the Tampa Bay regular season game in Brady's first year with Tampa Bay. And we've just had a...
San Diego.
Yeah, we've had a propensity to when it goes poorly, it really goes poorly. But, we've also responded pretty well coming out of those situations. So I think it's fortunate that we play, what hopefully isn't a super competent team, the Bears, and maybe we can build up some confidence with the young receivers, get the offense moving there, and hopefully those guys tee off a little bit on Justin Fields too. But thank you both for joining us here today. We'll see where the predictions lie after another week of Packers football next week. Hopefully both of you guys move to one more in the win column, and that would mean the Packers did as well. So thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.